So with the recent incidents of anime characters moving without thinking, such as Ultra Instinct Goku and Luffy going up against Katakuri, I figured that this would be the perfect time to explain how these abilities are real-life techniques within Japan. But before we unravel the history and the culture of Mushin, also known as moving without mind, let's go down both Luffy's and Goku's each individual abilities and see how they both tie in together with real-life techniques of Mushin, also known as the Haki test. So without further ado, let's start off with the first character, Luffy, and his Haki ability, Mantra. Haki is an ability most common used in the new world of One Piece. Haki has multiple stages, such as Armament Haki that allows the opponent to cover themselves in a black seal. Armament Haki also allows any opponent to penetrate as well as counter or deflect any Logia user, alongside being on the same level as them. The next step is Conqueror Spirit. Conqueror Spirit allows the user to knock out weak-minded enemies and force them into a state of rest or sleep, rather in groups or one single individual. And the final Haki ability, which is the most important one for this video, is Kenbushoku Haki, also known as Mantra. Kenbushoku Haki can sense an opponent's next move as well as seeing into the future in some cases and know when their opponent will strike. And I mentioned Mantra in this video because Luffy's training with Rayleigh is a real-life technique called the Haki test, and even though One Piece is an anime, Rayleigh's method of training is a real-life technique also known as the test of ill intent. Here's how it goes. The test taker will sit back while facing the test giver, while the test giver will strike the student with a non-lethal weapon. The test taker will quiet their mind and focus on all their senses, and if they successfully dodge the weapon, the test is passed. However, dodge too soon or take a crack to the head, then it's time to start all over again. And now we move on to the second part of this video, which is Ultra Instinct Goku and the state of flow. Now I can talk about Ultra Instinct Goku for hours and how his transformation is a real-life fighting technique such as Bruce Lee's motivational speeches.
I said empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Or a common state that most people activate on a daily basis without even knowing it, called a flow state. If you need a perfect representation on how this state is activated from the human mind, then look no further than the 2009 Sherlock Holmes movie from the bar fight scene. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute KC, that fight scene clearly didn't have Sherlock Holmes closing his eyes in a state of motion like Luffy did to defeat his enemies. And while yes that is the case, this is a different state of moving without mind called flow. As I mentioned previously, flow allows the user to move without thinking while their eyes are open, and the user is able to plan out their next movement, and in doing so is able to perfectly calculate the opponent's next movement before the match continues.
First, distract target. Then block his blind jab. Counter with cross to left cheek. Discombobulate. Dazed, will attempt wild haymaker. Employ elbow block. And body shot. Block feral left. Weaken right jaw. Now fracture. Break cracked ribs. Traumatize solar plexus. Dislocate jaw entirely. Heel kick to diaphragm. In summary, ears ringing, jaw fractured, 3 ribs cracked, 4 broken, diaphragm hemorrhaging. Physical recovery 6 weeks. Full psychological recovery 6 months.
The best example from an anime standpoint is Goku fighting against Caulifla, and from a more realistic standpoint, the Sherlock Holmes movie. But please keep in mind that Ultra Instinct Goku and Sherlock Holmes' technique of flow is different from Luffy's training of Mushin, but they do follow the same concept of moving without mind.
Guys, I'm trying to watch the show here. Magoozy's coming right back. Okay guys, 1 down and 1 to go.
Arrows! How's he doing that? Can he see into the future or what?
So from everything I showed you, it's not too far from the truth. Goku's and Luffy's training methods are actually real-life techniques that are used in Japan to this day. I guess our good friend Ichigo can take a book out of Goku's and Luffy's training, don't you think so, James?
I'm just like, dude, shut the fuck up.
But thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't know, I have a second channel called Manako97 Anime Gaming News, where I talk about everything and anything new upcoming for anime and anime-based video games. Hopefully this video shared some light on the techniques that Luffy and Goku use for their training, and hopefully that you found some enjoyment or some entertainment out of this video as a whole. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
So, you want to be a pirate? Well, there are some important steps to remember before you begin. First, you have to find a boat.
That is true.
Then you have to seek out a treasure. You have to speak the pirate language.
Whatever, bro.
And then you have to wield a sword, defend yourself, your boat, and your treasure from other crazy pirates. And you thought a pirate's life was easy.
Well said, Swabby.
For more pirate tips, watch One Piece. Monday through Thursday at 10 on Cartoon Network. Oh, that was cool!